Hi, boys and girls. Okay, so now that everybody has had a couple of days to immerse themselves in the qualities of historical fiction, it's time for us to do some really fun stuff, which is we are going to start developing the character through which their perspective is how we're going to be writing our diary entries. So just in case anybody's unclear about how we're going to be doing this part of the writing unit, we are going to be writing not a story like the realistic fiction story we have written in the past, but instead we're going to be telling a story, but through a series of diary entries from the perspective of a child who's probably about your age, who's immigrating from the country that you researched in social studies to America during the immigration period. So figure the mid 1800s to the early to mid 1900s. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and get started? So the best way to start building a character is to start developing them first from the outside, which is their external traits and factors. What are the factors around them that are impacting their life, but on the outside? Maybe what do they look like? What do they do? And then we'll start working on building and developing their internal traits and factors, right? Who are they on the inside? How do they feel? What type of person are they? What do they do? Okay. So today we're going to focus on the external, and then tomorrow we're going to move on to the internal. Okay. So in my mind, I am now, and I really want you guys to be doing the exact same steps as I am. I'm thinking, okay, well, what country was I researching? I was researching Italy. Okay. So I'm going to write my diary entries from the perspective of a young Italian boy who has to move to America with his family, part of his family, his whole family, I haven't decided yet, during the immigration period. So now I'm starting to envision who this boy is. So as an author, as a writer, I have to really take control of who this character is, because my purpose for writing is that my character is going to go through something. And in order for me to get this character from point A to point B, the beginning of the story to the end of the story, I have to really know who they are, and I have to know what I want them to get through, and I have to really know what I want them to learn. So I am personally envisioning a young Italian boy who is immigrating from Italy, in the mid to late 1800s. And I'm starting to think about, okay, well, let me see his external traits and factors. What does he look like? What color hair does he have? What's his height? What's his body type? What kind of clothes does he wear? What does he do? Does he work? Does he go to school? What's his family like? So I'm really thinking of all these things. I have a lot of information, a lot of ideas running in my head. Before I can even do any of those, I want to choose a name for my character, okay? Now, choosing a name is important, and we have to be sensitive to the fact that these are people that are part of another culture. So we really want to go into this knowing as much about the culture of the country we were researching as possible, because we want to be respectful to that culture. And we also want to create a story that's believable. Okay. And this is where all of that important information that you got from researching the immigration website is really going to come in handy. So you have to have done some really, really good research, because if you start writing diary entries that are not factually accurate, we're going to have to go back and you're going to have to rewrite them, because that won't make sense. Okay. Historical fiction, one of the qualities of historical fiction is that a story is happening while factual historical events are happening around that story. Okay. So a story and a factual historical timeline are being interwoven. So it's important that your research from the immigration website is accurate and makes sense and is able to be interwoven into your story in a way that makes sense and is accurate at the same time. So let's start with the character's name. So a name is dependent on what country it originated. So a family name from Italy is going to be very different from a family name from Ireland or Germany. Okay. So here I listed some about 10 or 11 examples of surnames. A surname is a last name from the three different countries that we have been researching. So in Italy, some of you may know that surnames in Italy almost always end in a vowel. Okay. Actually, most of the words in the Italian language end in a vowel, okay? So take my name, for example. My last name is Di Rienzo. In fact, it's two separate words, Di and then Rienzo, but my name was Americanized along the way, and then they were put together to form one word. The Di in Italian means of, and then Rienzo would have been a family name. So often when you see names like Di Rienzo or De Luca or Di Napoli, the D or the DE stands for of, and then the other word would be the family name. So that's one way that names were put together. Other ways that people got names in Italy were being of somebody's son. So it would be of Luca. That means that you were the son of a man named Luke. Okay, so in Italy, those are some ways that families came up, gained their surname. In Ireland, you may already know that a lot of common Irish names start with an O or an MC. So like O'Donnell, O'Malley, O'Connor, or McCormick, McMurray, McMullen, McMurphy. Similar to Italian culture, O and Mick often mean of as well. So maybe you were of a family or of a person, the son of something. Another similarity between both is that the surname could have been given based on where the family was from, what region of the country they originated. In Germany, families got their names in many different ways. It could have been like Italy and Ireland because of a family connection, but it could have also been a job that the family was known for having, or even a body part. Maybe they had curly hair or dark hair. So there are many different ways that people gained surnames, last names in all three different countries. So these are some suggestions that you could use. What I did was I actually picked a different last name, which you'll see in a second. And I'm thinking that my character, I'm thinking a 10-year-old boy from Italy, and I decided to name him Filippo. And you're gonna see him in a second. What I want you to do now is, I want you to have a piece of paper and a pencil out, because I'm gonna have you build a family tree for your character right now, okay? I'm gonna show you the family tree that I built for Filippo, and then I'm gonna have you pause the video for a few minutes, and you're gonna go ahead and work on building the family tree for your character, okay? So go ahead and make sure that you have a pen and some paper right now so that we can get started. Okay, so everybody should have a pen and paper, which you're gonna use after I show you this. You're gonna spend some time making the family tree for your character. Okay, so I decided that my character's name is Gianni, not Filippo. I take that back. So my character, his name is Gianni De Santo. He is a 10-year-old boy, and I decided, based on my research of the immigration website, I was thinking, well, what did I learn about the history of Italy during the immigration period? And I know that I learned that a lot of families left Italy because there was a civil war going on. And the result of that civil war was that the northern part of the country became very wealthy, but the southern part of the country actually became very poor. So an imbalanced federal tax system was implemented, and it fractured the country. Okay, so I'm picturing Gianni De Santo and his family living in the southern region of Italy. So most likely their family is poor, and they're thinking that they need to leave the country for America in search of a better life. But now it's really important that I start building the supporting characters as well, right? No story is driven successfully by just one character. There needs to be other characters, because the other characters not only add drama to a story, we always want a story to be dramatic, but also we want this to be realistic, okay? And most likely at this time, families together were immigrating from one country to another. So I started building Gianni's family. Gianni's dad, his name is Giovanni De Santo, and then his mom, her name is Filomena De Santo. He has an older brother named Santino De Santo, and he has a younger sister named Carmelina De Santo. Okay, so those are his parents, his older brother and his younger sister. And then I thought to myself, well, what do I really know about European families, Italian families specifically? I am Italian, but I also did my research on my immigration website. And I remembered, wait a second, grandparents are seen as very valuable, family members. People don't just forget about the grandparents once they get married and have their own children. In fact, grandparents end up going to live with their children and their children and so on, which was also common in my own family. So I said, I'm going to actually also create Gianni's grandparents, both his paternal grandparents, which means they're his grandparents on his dad's side, and his maternal grandparents, which means they're his grandparents on his mom's side. So there's Carmine De Santo, his paternal grandpa, Carmela De Santo, his paternal grandma, Carlo Fiore, who is his maternal grandpa, and Giovanna Fiore, who is his maternal grandma. Okay? Now I want you to stop. I want you to stop the video for a few minutes, and I want you to go ahead and build on a piece of paper that you are going to let your teachers see once it's done. I want you to go ahead and build the family tree of your main character. You can take as much time as you need to do this and pick up the video when you're done, because there is more to talk about that I want you to watch, okay? I want you to make sure their names match the country. I've given you some suggestions for all 3 countries. If you want to Google or search up common first names for Italy, Ireland, or Germany, you're welcome to do that. What I do want you to do is I want there to be a purpose to every supporting character. When an author writes a good story and there are supporting characters, what you need to remember is that just like every word has a purpose, every character has a purpose. We don't want meaningless characters floating around in the story. And to be honest, I'm not sure yet if I'm going to use every single one of these characters in my own story, in my own diary entries, but I want to make sure that I have enough on hand if I want to bring them in. So I want you to go ahead and build a full family tree. You can do just parents and children. You can do parents, children, grandparents. You can do parents, children, aunts and uncles, parents, children, cousins, or something like that. You can be creative. Just make sure that each supporting character is going to have a purpose in your story, because we don't want pointless characters just floating around with no impact on the story. So go ahead and pause now and take some time to build your family tree, and then pick up when you're done. Okay, you guys are back. I'm glad. I hope that you came up with a family tree that's going to be really impactful to your story, one that's really going to help drive where the story goes. I want you to remember that those characters should be important to the story and help move the story forward, okay? So I'm going to do the work that I'm going to want you to do. I'm going to show you how I want you to do it. So these are how the pages in your new historical fiction writer's notebook look. And these are the pages that you're going to be working on today, okay? You're going to take the characters that you just developed in your family tree, and you're going to basically lay them out here, letting us know what are their external traits and factors, okay? So I'm going to start here. So the first and last name of my character we already know is Gianni De Santo. The next question, what does he look like? Does he have dark hair, light hair, tall, short, etc.? Well, I'm going to say that he is tall, lanky, dark hair. He has a good build. And I'm going to tell you why, okay, in a second. He doesn't dress very well. Because they don't have much money. All right. Now, what does he do? Does he go to school? Does he work on the family farm? Does he work in a mill or on the docks? Well, I already said that the family lives in southern Italy. And I based that on the fact that I learned from my research that there's a civil war going on. And the southern region of Italy became very poor when an imbalanced tax structure was imposed on the country. So I decided that Gianni and his family actually live in a mountain village in the southern region of Italy. So they live, he lives in a mountain village of the southern region of Italy. In fact, I did a little further research, and the name of his town is called Castelmazzano. And feel free, if you want to go ahead and Google a town in the region of the country where your character lives, you may also do that to make the story feel as authentic as possible. And Gianni, he does not go to school. He's 10 years old, but he does not go to school because his dad and his family, they own a farm. And they really need Gianni to be there to help work the farm. So unfortunately, Gianni's not allowed to go to school. So I'm going to say he works the farm and cannot go to school. Okay? All of these things, these are all going to have purpose. All of these details will have purpose at some point in my diary entries. Again, every detail that we create here, every attribute, every factor, every action, every external or internal trait that we develop for these characters have to have a purpose. So think long and strong about how you're developing these characters, because these factors should all come out at some point throughout the story. So we said that his dad is Giovanni. His mom is Filomena. His dad runs the farm and provides for the family. His mom takes care of the children. And the grandparents. She does not work. His brother So family member, I put family member, you can make that the brother, the sister, the aunt, the uncle, the grandparent. Family member is just a generic term that you can use to fill in other members of the family. So his brother Santino is older, also works the farm with Gianni and their dad. And his sister, Carmelina, which means little Carmela, she's too little to work, so she has to be taken care of. She's too small. And then his grandparents, which I would then fill in, that they're probably too old to work, so they have to be taken care of by the family, okay? There's also another page after this that you can continue typing on if you run out of space. I want everybody to stick to a size 12 font so that you can fit as much on these pages as possible, okay? Okay, so now that I have built my family tree, after you have built your family tree, you're going to be ready to go into your new historical fiction e-writer's notebook, and this is your assignment for today. I want you to visit slides 6 and 7 and develop the external traits and factors of your main character and the supporting characters. Use the family tree you just made throughout this lesson to help you develop those external traits and factors of all the characters, okay? This is your first opportunity to start building up who this character is, who their family is, and what are the external factors that are impacting the family's need to immigrate from the country you researched to America for a better life. Okay, good luck. I'll see you more tomorrow.